Hey guys, it's Aiko. I'm an American English pronunciation coach and business coach. 私は英語発音コーチングを提供しています。世界で通用する英語発音を身につけたいという特に会社の顔である会社エグゼクティブの方、メディアに出たいという方、ぜひ概要欄の方に行って発音の3つのポイントという無料動画をチェックしてみてください。英語上級者向けの内容で空気、振動、エネルギーにフォーカスした内容となっています。去年カリフォルニアで TEDxTalk をしたんですけれども、12人のスピーカーが当日スピーチをしました。その時に出会ったセリーナを呼んで今回 TEDx の経験などをシェアしてもらいました。3月の16日、日本時間で午前8時半から9時45分の75分のワークショップでパブリックスピーキングについての心構え physically, mentally, emotionally be ready for public speaking というワークショップをしてもらいます。興味がある方は下の概要欄の方に行ってリンクをチェックしてみてください。So Selena, Lopez, Hinojosa, thank you very much for coming to my show.
Thank you so much, Aiko. I'm honored and flattered to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So would you please tell us what you do, who you are?
Sure. Well, I'm here in Corpus Christi, Texas. I was born and raised here in Corpus Christi, Texas. In 2015, by the grace of God, I overcame a 20-year struggle with alcohol and drug addiction. And ever since then, I've made it my life purpose to help inspire hope in others who may be struggling with any kinds of addictions. And in 2016, the very next year, I opened up my own business. It's called Lift by Selina. And it started out as a boot camp in my backyard. And today it's developed into, now I have a professional building, and it's a medical exercise center. In 2021, I had the opportunity to grace the cover of the very first Epic Fit magazine. So that was like an extremely, it was just an honor for me to do that. And some of my pictures were also featured in a couple of billboards in Times Square. And last year, in 2023, I became a #1 international best-selling author with my book, Hello Success. And in the same year, it was just a really great year last year. And the same year, I was also invited to apply to be a TEDx speaker in Huntington Beach, California. And I made it. And so I had that experience as well. And that's where I met the beautiful Aiko Hemingway. And today I'm still a master trainer and a medical exercise specialist. So I specialize in designing and implementing exercise programs for clients with medical conditions. So I'm not a physical therapist. I'm a little bit more than a personal trainer, but I'm here in the middle. I usually will work with clients when they've been discharged from physical therapy before they set out into the gym on their own. And I still live here in Corpus Christi with my husband, Reggie, and my 3 sons, Fabian, Jay, and Massimo.
Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. When I watched your rehearsal TEDx talk on Zoom, when was it? That was like August or July in 2023?
Before September.
September, yeah. I cried while I was listening to your story and how you were giving the talk. That was so inspirational. I want to put the link in the description box so that people can watch it. That was amazing.
Yes, thank you. When I hear things like that, it reminds me of, why I do what I do. This is kind of funny, Aiko, because I really wasn't very aware of what exactly a TEDx talk was. I knew I had heard of TED Talks and I had seen them on YouTube, you know, a little bit here and there, but I really I didn't know exactly what a TEDx talk was. Last year, at the beginning of the year, I believe it was in February of 2023, I was in California at a mastermind event with Bo Eason. And I knew a girl there that I had met a couple of times, a lady there. Her name is Dr. Izdihar Jamil. She was just one of those people that we just got along right away. And she approached me about applying for a TEDx talk that she was going to curate. I knew that it was an honor, but again, I wasn't exactly sure what it was. So, you know, after I did my research and realized that it's a pretty big deal to even be asked, I was very honored. And so I did apply and I went through the process. I was waiting to hear whether or not I was accepted. And I felt like I had a good chance because I had confidence in myself. But I also knew that there were a lot of great applicants. So I knew that the competition was very steep. So the day that I found out, I was at a track meet. I was at my son's track meet. And so there's, you know, we're at a field and there's lots of things going on and a lot of noise. And I was standing with my husband watching our son compete. And I just so happened to check my emails and I read it, and it took me 3 to 5 seconds to actually comprehend what the email was saying. And I read it a couple of times to make sure it said what I thought it said, right? And, you know, it was almost like I was so happy, I was elated, but it was just like a peace came over me. I just felt this overwhelming sense of gratefulness, thankfulness, and I was very honored and very humbled. And for a couple of days, it was a very emotional experience for me to learn that I was accepted, because it was a lot of hard work to even get accepted.
You know, I also went through that very emotional experience too when I opened up the email and saying, congratulations, you got accepted. You know, I couldn't sleep for 3 nights after that kind of stuff because I was really overwhelmed. So how was your experience, and what was the major takeaway from this TEDx experience?
My experience, Aiko, really started from the moment I applied. You know, my experience didn't start on September 23rd, 2023, when we got on the stage. The audience sees the finished product, right? And what the audience doesn't see is all the preparation, months of preparation that we go through for it to look easy, but it was not an easy thing to achieve. So again, my experience started when I applied. It was an emotional roller coaster because there were some days that I felt really good about it and I felt really confident about it. And I felt like, oh gosh, I got this. But then there were other days that I would doubt myself. There were other days that, you know, sometimes when you're trying to better yourself, Aiko, and I'm sure you know this very well, you'll get these negative thoughts for some reason or another, telling you, you can't do this. It's too hard. Why do you think you deserve this? And every once in a while, I would have those thoughts come into my mind and I would get so discouraged and frustrated and overwhelmed because I thought, well, maybe I'm not good enough. You know, so I had to also learn through this process. It taught me how to talk myself out of those negative thoughts, because we control our thoughts, so I had to just turn off any kind of negative thoughts and just move forward. And then the actual preparation of the talk itself, you have to follow a certain format. And so, it's a formula kind of that you have to follow. And there's certain regulations. You can't say this, you can say this. And so just making sure that you're doing everything according to TEDx standards. And as Dr. Izdihar being a dear friend of mine, as well as a mentor, I also had it in my heart that I wanted to do my very best for her as well. For me, of course, but also for her, because I knew that she was so excited that this was going to be her first experience curating a TEDx talk. And so I didn't want to disappoint her. And so that was another thing that kind of fueled me to keep going and to do my very best. I changed my talk actually several times. I started out with an idea that I thought I wanted to talk about, and then it kind of evolved into something else. And then I thought of maybe something else I wanted to talk about. So, what the audience sees, again, it's the very final product, but for me, at least, there was an evolution of the preparing my talk and getting it to where I wanted. Then comes the memorization, right? So that now, because we don't read off of notes or we don't read off of a prompter, you're actually telling your story. And to be able to tell your story effectively, you have to have it memorized. And so that was another part of it. And then the most important thing for me in preparation was not just memorizing it and saying the words verbatim. It was about allowing myself to be vulnerable in front of the audience and allowing the audience to go on this roller coaster of the events that I was talking about. I was talking about a very personal subject. I was talking about my alcohol and drug abuse and how it affected me and my family, the people around me. So I was reliving and telling very traumatic times of my life. And so I wanted to convey that feeling, that emotion to the audience. But again, I had to learn how to do it effectively. I didn't want to stand up there and start crying and sobbing in the middle of my speech, because if I wanted to help others, I knew I had to present it in a professional and effective way. So it was just a huge learning experience. And then you meet so many wonderful people. I mean, I met you meet so many wonderful people. And when I was done, the next couple of months or month or two, Aiko, I don't know if you experienced this, but it was like I came off of this high roller coaster. And then when I was done, it was like, okay, now what? I almost felt like, what do I do with myself now that I was done with it? And I mean, not a deep depression, but I kind of got a little bit, I don't want to say depressed, but just this feeling of, okay, God, show me what's next, because I'm sure we're both the same way, where I'm the type of person that always has to be working on the next thing. So I just had to be patient. And now today, how many months later, October, November, December, January, February, about over 5 months later, I really feel that I gained a lot of strength from that entire experience. So it was just, again, a lot of emotions, but overall, I would do it over again if I had to.
When you mentioned that, you practiced it so that you won't cry on stage.
Yes.
I was crying in the audience, like listening to your speech 3 times. I mean, each time I felt very emotionally connected to your personal story. And then, yes, like you were very vulnerable, like really, you were very open.
I had to learn how to get there. When I first got sober in 2015, you know, I started going to church, and I was blessed to find a group of spiritual mentors that helped me develop my relationship with God. And there were times in our small groups that they would ask each person if they wanted to share their testimony, to share their story. And for the first year, at least, I would try to tell my story, but it was almost like the story would end on a sad note because I was still very much traumatized by the events that had occurred in my life. And one of my mentors, I'll never forget, she told me, Selena, one day you're going to tell your story, but I really feel like you have a lot of healing and recovering to do before you can do that. And so all these years of being sober, it's been a time of healing and recovery, so to prepare me to do that, you know, because I want to allow the audience to feel the hopelessness, to feel the despair, to feel just the sadness of what addiction does to, again, not only you, but to the people around me. I didn't want to sugarcoat addiction because it's not a pretty thing. And so I wanted the audience I invited them to come in with me to get a glimpse of what the life of an addict is like. But then I want to leave the audience with a sense of, oh gosh, it ends with a happy ending. It does end with inspiration. It does end with encouragement. It does end with hope, you know? And so thank you so much for sharing that, because that's exactly the feeling that I want to leave my audience with.
You definitely did. And then I can relate to the emotion where you felt like, so what now? After the TEDx talk, I've also felt some depression. After
Yeah.
that? Yeah, so how are you now? Are you okay or?
Yes, I'm feeling so much better. I think a lot of it was now, it was just a strange feeling. I almost can't even describe it, because I felt like all this work, all this preparation, everything that goes into the talk, I felt like, okay, it's over. It's done. And I needed another purpose, is what I needed. I spent a lot of years, Aiko, in my years of being addicted to drugs and alcohol, feeling useless. You know, I tell in my story, all I did was sit on this one square cushion of my couch and get drunk all day. That was my life. And I think for me now, it's like I never want to even go near that place again. So I think I just have this thing of, I want to do something else good. I want to do something else that brings me joy. I want to do something else that inspires people. So it was just a short period of time to find that. And then once I found that, I was like, okay, now I have something else to work on and I feel better.
So for me, I noticed as I was listening to you, I was living around the TEDx talk last year. That was it, right? And then now it's gone. Not gone, but like it's done. It's
Yes.
over. So now
Yes.
I have something to fill.
I just thought of this. Another part of the experience for me, Aiko, when you're hooked on drugs and alcohol and in this state of mental illness for so long, you lose your sense of self and you lose your confidence. So when I first got sober, I had zero confidence. I was just as broken as a person can be. You know, I just felt lost. But then when I got sober, I felt that God had some things for me to do. I dropped out of college. So I only took just a few classes of college because I was so drinking so much that I didn't go to college. I don't have a college degree. I grew up in a barrio. We were poor. We didn't have a lot. And even still today, my husband and I, we live very humble lives. And sometimes being around a group of people that are educated, that do have college degrees, that do have big successful businesses and that are wealthy with a lot of money, sometimes I go, that little poor girl, that addict from the barrio kind of creeps in, and I almost feel myself shrinking down. And so that was something else that I had to overcome and tell myself, you know what? I do belong here. And I was invited to be here, and I earned my place to be here. So that was just another one of the many things that I had to grow into. I had to grow into the confidence. On stage, if you watch my talk, I appear very confident and but it took a lot of time for me to get there.
Wow, that's awesome. I really love that statement. I belong here.
Yes. And I want other people to know because, I'm not the only one. Of course not. There are so many people that look around in whatever environment that they're in, whether it's at their job or their school or their fitness health club, wherever, in a group of friends. There's so many times that each of us feel this sense of inferiority, and it's not true. It's not true. I think for me, the enemy will try to keep me in that low place because he wants me to believe that I'm still that poor girl from the barrio, or that drug addict, or that alcoholic, or that mentally ill person that I used to be. But I have to stand on the word of God that that's not who he designed me to be. That's not the woman he made me to be. That was just a circumstance, a season of my life, but he designed me to do great things and to help and inspire people. And so I want people to know that you're not alone. You're not alone if you think that. And sometimes the most people that appear the most confident, they may not be. And if they are, it took them time to get there.
That's so inspirational because it took me for a while too. Like, because I didn't speak English.
Yes.
When I moved to the US, right? So I always felt like I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough to be here. I always felt that, and it took me for a while to overcome it.
There's been times that I have gone to, like I said, Bo Eason's mastermind, or when I was studying at the Medical Exercise Training Institute, and I would go there and I would have to literally excuse myself to go to the restroom and gather my emotions, because it was almost like I could not even hold back tears, because I felt so not worthy of being there. And so I remember, going to the restroom and being in the stall and just trying to like catch my breath. I would drink some cold water and try my hardest to not, just start crying in front of everybody because it was hard. That was a hard feeling for me to overcome.
Yeah, wow. I'm so glad that I was able to hear some of the stories that you went through behind the scene.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So I will put all the links in the description box so people can find you then.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so thank you very much for coming to my show. And thank you very much for sharing your story, Selena. Thank you. All right, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
3月の16日、日本時間で午前8時半から9時45分の75分のワークショップでパブリックスピーキングについての心構え、physically, mentally, emotionally, be ready for public speaking というワークショップをしてもらいます。興味がある方は下の概要欄の方に行ってリンクをチェックしてみてください。